Hi, my name's Chris and I'm from that startup company and codewithoutcode.com. Today I'm going to show you the ultimate guide to winning a startup weekend based upon our previous experience. We've won a couple of startup weekends and often by Friday night, before even teams have sorted out what they're doing, we're already generating cash. And ultimately that's what it's about, validating that the problem exists by getting cash from customers. So at a startup weekend, you're judged on three different things: business model, customer validation, and execution and design. What this actually means from a practical point of view is proof of talking to customers and a deep understanding of the problem. Making sure you know that that actual problem exists is one of the most important aspects of a startup weekend, because the judges will be hounding you on it. They will not believe that whatever you're pitching is actually a serious problem unless they've experienced it personally. So you need to validate and show them that you have done the hard work to justify that this problem is real, it's big enough, and people are willing to pay for a solution. The second area is business model. This follows on from people who are willing to pay for a solution. How are they willing to pay? Are they looking to pay upfront? Are they looking to pay one-off? Are they looking on a subscription basis? Or in fact, are they not willing to pay and you need to find another way to get revenue? Included in that is actually acquiring customers. What is your scalable approach to acquiring customers? What methods did you try? How much did it cost you to acquire a customer? This is vital information, and actually if you've got this, it can separate you from the crowd, the other people who are pitching on that Sunday night. And the third area is probably the most difficult, and it's execution and design. So this is actually coming down to not just saying, yes, there's a problem out there, but actually making sure that you've created a minimum viable product. Now, I'm going to go and show you some shortcuts for creating a minimum viable product that will be sufficient at a startup weekend. And most importantly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what judges think, because if you have real users and you've got real money in your bank account from people paying for your solution, that is the path to winning. As there is a lot to cover in this, we've actually split this into two videos. So this video is going to cover our recipe for time allocation, what to do on Friday, what to do Saturday, what to do Sunday. And the next part will actually cover our rapid marketing and sales strategies for a startup weekend and our go-to tools for building a minimum viable product without any code. Part 2 will have a link on the screen now, or if I can't work out how to do that, there will be one in the comment below. If you're serious about winning a startup weekend, you really need to start the week before. Now, it's against the rules to create anything or build anything, but what you can do is make sure that the problem that you're going to pitch on the Friday night is a real problem, or else you will struggle over the entire weekend. So do some pre-work and figure out how it is that you're going to pitch it in 60 seconds, come up with a catchy name, and even potentially sign up to a Stripe account if you don't already have one. Sign up to Zapier, learn how to use it, as well as sign up to Typeform, as these are all tools that my guess is you're probably going to need at some point, so you probably want to become familiar with it. On the day of the event, on the Friday, as soon as you get there, you want to start talking to people. You want to be practicing that 60-second pitch that you've been putting together over the previous week. And you want to be really trying to make sure the people that you talk to are actually remembering your name. Because when there's hundreds of ideas that are going to be pitched that night, and potentially some people are drunk, they're probably not going to remember too much. But what you want to use this time for is to actually talk to people and find out who it is that you want in your team, especially if you know you've got a skill gap that's missing, or if you want to learn something from someone and you want them in your team. When you finally come to pitching your idea, like I said, use a really catchy name. Make sure that it stands out amongst everybody else who will be pitching. When it comes to the voting stage, make sure you're standing next to your idea and you're selling it to people. Otherwise, they will put their votes somewhere else, especially if there are hundreds of ideas to choose from. So do your best to make sure that if you have several stages of voting, you can make it through to actually forming a team. Once you've actually formed a team, what you want to do is you want to speak with each of the team members to find out if they've attended a startup weekend before, and if they have, find out what they would do better, what they did poorly, and really learn from their mistakes. You also want to find out from each team member if they want to win or if they're just looking to have fun, as you can allocate different people to do different tasks. And it's also more important if they're really just trying to learn something. And that's another area you want to mention. It's also about their core skill set. Just because a developer is there doesn't mean they want to spend the whole weekend coding. They actually may want to learn sales and marketing. And frankly, sometimes that's great because you are actually getting more out of them because they can understand the whole problem. So find out what people want to learn and find out what their core skill set is. Now, while most teams are still going to be figuring out who does what and what everyone's background is, you want to be jumping into Google Survey and actually signing up for surveys to be sent out overnight. These may not necessarily help you get more customers, but what it can do is motivate your team that you're solving a real problem. And sometimes the number of being able to say, 600 people filled in our survey, despite the fact a face-to-face interview is better, that can still be a pretty good thing to say on the Saturday morning when you have to do a team check-in. You also want to be setting up a type form, which is essentially a survey to validate the broad area. So it's how do you have a problem in this area? How do you currently solve this problem? And you want to make sure that you capture people's details as well. A phone number is really important, but at the very least an email. The reason is that tomorrow we're going to follow up anyone who filled in that survey with a phone call and actually do a customer interview. They are the first people that you're going to do a customer interview with because they're already being pre-exposed to what you're doing and you can actually practice on them. The second type form you want to set up is actually a payment system. So that way you want to tether your Stripe account to Typeform and you actually want to get people to sign up and pay for whatever the solution, or you want to get them to pay for a solution to the problem. And I would use this method as just however you think you're going to solve it, as this is really a placeholder overnight just to see if you can get some revenue. Then the final thing you want to set up is an actual landing page. I would suggest using something like Instapage and just using a built-in template and changing a few of the words. Because what we're going to do overnight is drive traffic to the survey. We're going to drive traffic to the landing page, and the landing page will send people straight to the Typeform payment page. So you also want to set up some paid advertising. I suggest on a Friday night, especially if you're based in Australia like we are, you would go and set up Reddit ads. Because if you don't set them up on Friday, they are not going to run. So don't use your Typeform URL. Use a URL you can change later. For example, direct to your landing page. You also may want to experiment with sponsored tweets and Facebook pages, and then you want to post in some groups. So if you've got access to Facebook groups that you know have this problem, post in there. Write a question such as, what is your biggest pain point around this problem? What is the biggest problem you have? What things really annoy you? And then you can engage in the conversation. If you just link straight to a survey, you may get banned, but depending on the group, that will affect it. So before you leave, you really want to have a game plan ready for tomorrow. And your most important thing is, where are you going to find your customers? So what you need to do is you need to put a list together of all the places your customers are going to be over the weekend, because this is going to be your Bible on where to go at what time. On Saturday, you want to come in and hopefully you will have found at least one person would have signed up that you don't know and they've actually paid. If that's the case, celebrate. That is the best thing you can possibly get on a Saturday morning, and you are probably ahead of 99% of startup weekends at this point, but don't let that stop you. Use that motivation. So call the people who filled in your time your type form, understand the questions they're asking, understand the problem a little bit more, and make sure everyone in your team is hearing these calls. And you want to split into groups of 2 or 3, and you want to go out on the streets for an hour or an hour and a half and just get through as many customer interviews as you can. And yes, you are stopping people on the side of the road as they walk down towards you, and you are asking them specifically about the problem. So you want to do that, and you want to probably come back after an hour and a half, give feedback to everybody else who was doing it, share some war stories, have a laugh, have a good time, get something to eat, learn, improve the questions, improve what you're doing, go out and go do it again. Always be asking people for contact details, because this proves that you've actually spoken to them, but more importantly, it gives you an option to follow them up later. And on the Saturday afternoon or the Sunday morning when you've got a prototype up and running, try to get them to sign up. So you always want to have at least 2 people out talking to potential customers, because if you're not doing that, you're not learning, and that's really where a startup weekend comes into its own. It's about learning about these problems. On the Saturday afternoon, by about 2 p.m, you actually want to be at a point where you can definitively say, yes, this is a real problem. And you also want to know how customers are currently solving this problem, and then confirm with them that they would actually pay for a solution to that problem and how much. And then using that information, you can start to build your minimum viable product, and we'll show you how to do that in the next video. You will probably want to switch off your pure survey forms, unless of course you're getting a lot of traffic and you're using it to do more customer interviews, because instead you want to get them to direct to the paid form where they're actually paying and signing up. You also want to update your landing page based upon what you've learned in that morning of talking to people. You want to update your messaging to make sure you're nailing in on those problems. And you want to update your price as well. So if overnight, if you only had $2 or $3 as your charge, you probably want to go through and do something a bit more, because you're really trying to see what the point is where people don't want to pay anymore. You then want to throw some more at ads as well as posting in groups, and you're trying to reach out to influencers, and what you're trying to do with your tweets is really get that reach. So I'd strongly suggest that you do set up a Twitter account and actually start using it from Friday, because there are potentially hundreds, if not several hundred, of participants taking part in a startup weekend on the same weekend you're doing it. And so you can use the mass number of people who are out checking the startup weekend hashtags and actually start tagging, using those hashtags of those startup weekends to try to get traffic, to try to get people to share your thing, because you're trying to get reach, you're trying to get global appeal, you're really trying to validate this problem not just in your local area but worldwide, because that's what really counts. You also want to start putting your pitch deck together for Sunday. I know it seems early, but this is going to help you identify the gaps and then allocate to people who are going to fill those gaps. Because you may have had the best startup weekend on the Friday night, the Saturday, but if you do not pitch it well to the judges on Sunday, it doesn't matter. Your pitch is important. You also want to start with improving that MVP and starting to direct people to it after that paid form as well. So if someone goes through, signs up, direct to the MVP, or if you've got a developer on your team, you could build in that integration. But what we're going to show in the next video will actually just be for those people who are non-technical. So on the Sunday morning, you really want to start by running through the full pitch. Whoever is pitching it, they want to pretend that they're pitching it again, because it's going to help you actually remember what you're pitching. Even if the slides are empty, just have them there, and so everyone can see what's missing and where you need to spend your time. You want to go and speak to customers again. Follow up those people who filled in your survey. Go and call the people who you spoke to previously and actually see if you can get them to sign up. You want to go out on the street, you want to sign up more people, and if you're really game, put the price up. We started with one of our ideas at I think $5, we moved it to $15, and by Sunday morning we were charging $50 for people to sign up to our product, and you know what? People were still signing up. So more revenue is always better. It's all well and good to get up there and say you had 25 people sign up, but what's even better is saying we had 25 people sign up for $10 each. What's even better is we had 25 people sign up for $50. So refine the MVP if you need, but by Sunday afternoon, you really want to get really into that pitching, making sure it's within the time limit. Put in any backup slides for questions. You want a final push on those sign-ups using every resource you've got. You want to tally up all the numbers. You want to do your maths around how much it's costing you to acquire customers. You want to figure out how many people you spoke to, how many you got email addresses, how many signed up, how much cash you got, how many filled in your survey. Refine the wording of the problem and the solution to the pitch, and practice and practice and practice. I cannot say this enough. The person who is pitching from like 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon should be doing nothing other than that. The rest of the team should be going out trying to get more sales, because you can update it at the very last minute. That brings us to the end of this first video. In the second part of this video, we'll be going through rapid marketing and sales strategies. This is to get your first customers, your first dollars through the door, your first registered users, and we'll also cover some tools to build a minimum viable product. So these are off-the-shelf tools that you can use without needing to know any code, and you can actually build a product that will provide value to your clients and hopefully get them to recommend you to someone else, giving you more users and more dollars. And this strategy can actually be used not just for a startup weekend, but to actually launch a startup. If this video was useful, feel free to subscribe to our channel. We do post a lot of other videos, not just about Startup Weekend, but how you can actually build prototypes without coding, hence the name codewithoutcode.com.